Going back to fire.
Yes, absolutely.
So you always had a night watchman.
That's right. Yep.
Right? And that night watchman had to go around and check all the buildings, etc. And at Casey, we used to leave, because of the temperature inside, etc., just to keep the temperature of the powerhouse at a reasonable sort of temperature. We'd crack the windows all on the windward side.
Okay. Yep.
And part of the night watchman's job was to make sure that if there was any wind coming up, to shut those windows.
Yep.
So the drift wouldn't get in.
Yeah.
Well, that didn't happen.
Ah.
That didn't happen.
That seems to be a common feature with night watchmen. They just forget to do things.
Boffin again. Boffin again.
I don't believe it.
No, I'm serious.
No, that's
Bloody
not the case.
boffin
I'm not for
again.
them, Boffin left
Bloody
on the go.
boffin again.
One of the Met observers did that to my office.
Oh,
When
well.
he was night watching once, and there was a blizzard overnight, of course, wasn't
Well, there was a bloody blizzard, all right. Anyway, next thing is no power. We had all the electrical boards there, and it shorted out the AVR meter, and the AVR meter was what connects the two engines together, so you can't have one or the other. You've got to have this meter that decides which engine's running. And did we have a spare AVR meter? No.
No, of course not.
We were in deep shit, and I'll just step back a bit. So we had no power, and of course the guys come to me and said, David, we've got no power, there's something wrong with the power station, right? And it's absolutely blowing a gale, and I mean blowing a gale. And the way that Casey's built, each building had access to get out down the steps onto the snow, and some were higher than others. And near my donga was, I don't know, 4 or 5 steps or whatever the case may be. So I put all my gear on, and I start to go down the steps. Remember, Casey's got this big curve, and the wind accelerates underneath. So if you've already got, 140, 50 knots of bloody wind coming, by the time you go down those steps, it's not 140, 50, it's a couple of hundred bloody kilometres or miles an hour. Well, I went down and I'm hanging onto the rail, and I am not bloody joking. It just lifted me up, and I'm chinning the vertical, trying to get back up. I went back up, I said, there's no way can I get down either the powerhouse, So I went up to the top. The science room was the last building on the top, and it was 30 metres, 40 metres from the powerhouse. And I opened the door, and I could hardly open the bloody door. And I said, oh shit, I'm not going here on my bloody own,
Yeah.
So I put a rope on myself, and Mick Webb came with me. We opened the door, and we got down, it was on the ground level, and the wind was so strong, and this might be hard to understand. I couldn't breathe. It's taken my bloody air away from me. So I'm crawling because I couldn't stand up anyway.
Yeah.
With the
line.
and I had to put my head into the snow to breathe. And I moved another metre, and I put my head in and breathe, put my head in and breathe, and I eventually got to the powerhouse. Then I couldn't open the frigging door.
Yeah, it's full of snow.
Well, it was not only was it full of snow,
too much wind.
it was the suction,
Yeah.
I eventually opened the door, and whoosh, the bloody shit that came in at the same time. Anyway, I went, God.
Yeah, literally.
You couldn't see that bloody inside the powerhouse. It was just absolutely chock-a-block full of bloody snow. So to Mick, I said, we'll have to go over to the workshop and we start the spare generator.
Yeah,
but nowhere near as big as the 6QT Dormans. So we go over to struggle to get over there, and guess what? We couldn't start the diesel. We eventually got it running.
That was a handled chip.
Yeah, and we got power back because we had to get the water circulating, otherwise it was freezing, but for the temperature. Anyway, we got that back. We were a week or so with it on the spare bloody diesel. And that was pretty rough going because we didn't have enough power, to run the total station. We had to keep swapping, changing around. Anyway, we eventually got it, and our super tech, one of the smartest men I've ever come across, and George Sook, our electronics engineer, German, was he smart? And this AVR meter was about so big, quite small. They built one, Peter, out of the stuff that they've had there. They actually built one. And the AVR meter's this big sort of thing, but the one they built was this big, And we ran for the rest of the year on that bloody piece of equipment that those guys innovatively built. How
That's, what I'm
about
saying,
that?
that's extraordinary. And because you have the technical know-how, but
Yeah.
you just cobble together with whatever you can get to make it work.
Yeah.
Who got in trouble for that then?
Oh,
Because that would have been a real bad boy who left the door open.
he was, but I mean, at the end of the day, that's the other thing about the Antarctic is that the camaraderie
Yep.
is what keeps you together.
Yep.
And you can't have animosity in those, and which we didn't, by the way.
Yeah.
One of the first years there was no disruption, if you like, was Casey. Right? We had no fights, no nothing, no arguments. I mean, there was disagreements,
Yeah.
but no arguments. Even when the frigging cook went on strike. The
You
cook
talk about
went on-
essential services going down your...
and- well, I mean, he was a dickhead anyway, but it was worse than a bottom feeder, you know, absolutely worse.
Oh, that's another lag break level.
But anyway, his thought was he'd cook and he'd bake the bread and whatever the case may be. Because the station's 24 hours, the meteorology are running 24 hours, and some of the scientists did as well, run 24 hours. They'd get hungry, so they'd go into the pantry and start eating the bloody food. And of course, our cook decided that, hey, hang on a minute, that was for lunch, you know, and it's now gone. You know? And I thought, oh, well, how are we going to fix this? And I was really good friends with the OIC. It was my friend, right? And I said to him, look, I'll talk to the chef, you know. And I said to him, I can't even think of his name, that's how, Jeff Singleton, that's him. Anyway, I said to him, put aside what these guys can eat at night time. Remember, people have to eat,
Yep.
you know, and there's 24 hours here, you know. You're feeding 90% of us or more during the day, breakfast, lunch and dinner, but what about these poor suckers that are on night shift? They're already sleeping. So put some food aside, you know. The bread was the main thing that he was really pissed off because there'd be no bread for breakfast. Anyway, he tried that for a very short space of time. And this is within the first 3 months, by the way, in the first 3 months.
Yeah, that's
maybe
that
less
teething
than-
time, isn't it?
Yeah. And I'm showing the movies. I was the projectionist. So I was jack of all trades, master of none. And Gordon comes up there, the OIC comes up there, he says, oh, David, he said, can you hold the movie for a little while? I said, yeah, what's the matter? He said, the chef's gone on fucking strike. And I said, you've got to be joking. He refused to cook, see? I said, what are we going to do? He said, well, who's the slushy tomorrow? It was a Saturday night. Who's the slushy tomorrow? I said, it's my week on. I said, I'm the slushy. He said, no, you're not. I said, what do you mean? He said, you're the cook. So,
This was at Casey, was it?
yeah, Casey, yeah.
Is that the one we always celebrated on that day?
Yeah.
Because Cook's Resignation Day.
That's the one.
Well, that's a thing that
I
started.
have not
I mean,
heard that story before, but I've heard all about Cook's
And I
Resignation.
believe when he got back to Australia, he didn't get paid. That's my...
oh, for the days he was on strike.
No, for the whole friggin' year.
Oh.
Yeah, no, so that's my understanding. Anyway,
Oh, that's a bit rough.
so I became the chef for the week, and the following week guy that was for the slushy became my slushy. Right?
What's a slushy?
Pots and pans and
Oh, okay.
clean up and
Yep.
whatever the case.
Kitchen
may be.
hand.
Kitchen hand, yeah. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, when I was cook, I used to make that friggin' slushy work.
I bet you the pans were disgustingly burnt and everything else.
Oh, yeah, no, I didn't burn. But my wife was a domestic science teacher, and she taught English and science as well. And I would write a whizzer-back, or if I was on the ham radio, I'd ask for a recipe, you know, and she'd send me a recipe. And so when it was my turn to cook, I would cook.
Yeah.
And one of the things I decided to cook was corned beef fritters, right?
Yeah.
And half the guys, more than half the guys, didn't even know what a corned beef fritter was, you know, because that's typical farmland. So I had this beautiful recipe for, I mean, they're pretty easy to make. And they were bloody, oh, man. David, can you make some of those corned beef fritters?
Use ox and palm corned beef or just
No, tin.
king?
Tin.
Yeah, no, that's ox and palm's another type.
Yeah, but we had all our food, Peter, that was sent to the Antarctic was export quality. I've never tasted veal to this day like I did at Mawson and Casey.
So there's no scrimping on the food.
No scripting on the food. Back to Casey, the cook. Then we spoke to the OIC, and I said, well, hey, we're not going to have someone doing nothing here, you know.
Yeah.
You've got to do water runs. So we made him do all the water runs. And the night watchman was also part of his job was to clean the ablutions block, etc., etc. So we took that away from the night watchman and gave it to him.
Yep.
So we had to do all the ablutions block, right? Every day you had to clean him, right? That was not much of a job, just once in to clean it, wasn't it? Yeah. But then he had to do the water runs too, because at Casey, water was a problem at Casey. It certainly wasn't at Mawson. So we had to do a run and fill up, and that's what he did. So I actually made a heat exchanger for Mawson.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because that's what Phil was talking about there. You've got this ice cave or something like that.
Yeah.
You've just got this immersion thing that just keeps it going.
Yeah. And complete running water at Mawson all the time. Never ever would you run out of water at Mawson. Casey, you did. You had to be careful about Casey. You had to be very careful. So sometimes you had to only allowed a shower once a week at Casey.
Yeah, we wouldn't
So,
want
yeah.
more than that. Would yeah.
Jeez, I need that shower.
Yes, I was just going to say, we're getting to the point where we're going to have to wrap it up for today.
Well, shit, I haven't even finished.
So before we do, can we have a quick crazy story
Yeah.
of anything that you did that you shouldn't have done with penguins and the Huskies?
Good grief. You know how to ask
I'll-
those questions, Pete.
Okay, I'll tell you one crazy story, and this is Casey. I had the two girls, remember? Only 10 months old when I left, so it was 10 months after I applied for it that I got the job. Young buck, horny as hell, you know. Mrs. Palmer and her 5 daughters did very well. And so I wrote this coded whizzer, and I couldn't find all the words in the book, so I wrote like a telegram, and I just said, give careful consideration to 3 is not a crowd. So when I come home, I straight away wanted to get in the sack and do whatever, one's supposed to do in the sack and have the 3rd child, see? So, shit, I didn't get a reply back for a while. Jesus Christ, what have I done here, So I get a reply back. Original plan still stands. Try your luck with the penguins.
Oh God! It's just well, those are the sort of things you have to consider when you're in an environment like that.
Yeah.
Try your luck with the penguins. I thought you'd try your luck with the Huskies. It's slightly different.
Yeah.
But you had dog teams. You did have dog teams there too, didn't you?
No, we had one dog at Casey. They'd just take them out. But we had dog teams at
Mawson.
Mawson, yeah. I ran the dogs, one of the biggest dog trips ever since 1911 at Mawson. Yeah. I ran into the Oster Rookery, yeah. And back again, I got some.
Because that's quite a way, isn't it? I've seen the on the map.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
couple. Is it 100? Couple of
No, it's
hundred?
about 35 miles.
Oh, 35 miles.
We had 2 dog teams on the way to Oster Rookery, and I had the foreman carpenter. I was the plant inspector, 2OC of the station, and the super tech for Mawson with us. And I had Rusty, my mate, still a magic guy. He had one dog team, I had the other dog team. And lo and behold, we're on the bloody sea ice, and the blizzard comes up. And we're about 100 metres roughly from a little island. And I'm saying, when the blizzard, it was just absolutely howling. And the dogs couldn't pull into the wind.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going backwards. The
Yeah.
wind's blowing us bloody backwards. So, and I had crampons on, and so did my mate. And I got 2 ice picks, and I hooked onto my lead dog, and I'm kneeling with my ice pick, and I got pulling the 9 dogs in the sled. I'm helping to pull. And it took an eternity to get to the island. Right, we got to the island, and we managed to go on the leeward side. And we pitched a polar pyramid tent to knock out the blizzard. So we pitched our dogs up. About every hour we had to go out and lift the dogs up out of the snow, otherwise they would have suffocated.
I thought they liked to bury themselves in the
Yeah,
snow.
but that's the trouble. They do, and then they can't bloody breathe. So you've got to lift it up off the chain, After about 12 hours, the blizzard stopped, and here we are, And these 2 guys, I've got to be careful how I say this, they thought they were going to die, Peter.
Yeah.
And Rusty and I were, Jesus Christ, and we're supposed to be heading to Oster Rookery to do a bit of research. And I look at a bit of water and cook our bloody brekkie, and I look out and I said to Rusty, have a look at this. And he said, what's that, David? And I said, well, Brutus, he said. What's that, Brutus? I said, how are we going to get off this fucking island? And he said, what do you mean? I said, the sea ice is broken up.
Oh no!
And here we are on the bloody island, you know. And it's about from me to the television, broken away from the island because of the swell and etc. broken up.
Broken
You know?
up.
And that's about the length of a dog sled, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Maybe anyway. I said to Rusty, oh God, I'm onto you. So I unloaded a dog sled, and I was pretty powerful and strong in those days. I had 2 hands and I lifted and I'm pushing it, pushing it, and it just made the bloody sea ice on the other side, and I pushed it a bit further, and I pegged it. And Rusty said, "You're not crawling across there, are you?" I said, "Well, shit, I've got to peg the bloody thing, you know." So I crawled across the bloody thing. I had clothes ready, so I could have swum. And I had the rope on me, by the way. Yeah, I wasn't that stupid. And I pegged the sled, and then I took all our gear across. We got the other sled across.
Yep.
And I took the 9 dogs across.
One at a time.
9 and 9.
They're big dogs too, aren't they?
18 dogs, right? And it across, pegged them out, ready to rock and roll. Then these last 2 guys, well, they were going, we're going to die, you know, we're not going to get home, etc. It's great. And then we get across, and I load up the sled, got my dogs ready.
What's the word to go start for the dogs?
Mush.
It is mush.
Yeah.
Mush.
And so it's mush to start, woo to stop, with the bloody brake, because they don't stop anyway. Well, basically, and you go left, and they go left, and right, boys, right, boys. It's always boys at the end.
Yep.
Woo, boys, right, boys, left, boys.
Oh.
Right? So, they're beautiful dogs, absolutely beautiful dogs. And I said to Rusty, we're not going to Rookery.
Oh.
He said, what do you mean? I said, I'm not taking these guys to fucking Rookery, you know?
Yeah, they're gibbering messes.
Yeah, so we went back, and Rusty and I ran all the way back to Mawson, right? And they're on the bloody cart still. They're still on the cart, on the sled. And we got bloody wind burnt and frostbitten in my neck here and below my eyes here.
Yeah.
I lost all the skin under my eyes from perspiration and sweat, and we ran non-stop, all the way back to bloody...
Because you guys are damn fit down. You know, you're very, very fit guys.
Oh, yeah.
So what happened to the dogs?
Oh, the dogs, I got the dogs. They're running. I'm running with the dogs.
Are you running?
I'm running with them. Oh, they're beautiful dogs. Nugus was my lead dog. And then I had Brian Jumbuck, his 2 sons behind. Oh, they were just like magic. When we ran into the Prince Charles Mountains with the dogs, and that was a long trip. I was away, almost 6 months, I think it was, before I got back to Mawson. But anyway, we pitched our polymer tent, and Nugus, you could never keep him on. He'd slip his chain, you know. And next thing, because the polymer tent had little tunnels like an igloo, and you climb through this little tunnel into your tent. And the next thing you'd see this. Here's this big dog called come and sit, and the bastard would lay right next to, because I had 2 sleeping bags, one side the other, and then a ventile outer, right, and laying on cork mats, right. They don't do that now, Peter. I can tell you that now. You know, they wouldn't even know what a cork mat was. You know, but anyway. And if I rolled over, the friggin' dog go around the other side and he put his face. Anyway, I woke up. I don't know how many hours. And I'm frozen. I'm frozen to the dog.
Because he's always slobber.
Yes, I'm frozen to the dog. And the dog goes, no, I have to pull him back so I to get the ice off my bloody thing. Yeah, but he was a brilliant dog. And of course, then we'd go outside and we would dig a little hole in the corner of the polar pyramid tent, and we'd all have a crap or a wee or whatever the case may be, because say you weren't outside. And if you went outside, you never had to wipe your backside. You just put it to the wind and that'd be it.
There's no such thing as toilet paper, Dad.
I've got to say, David, you've taken a whole new meaning to being attached to the dogs.
Yeah. But usually, wouldn't the dogs have eaten it anyway?
Yeah, they did. When they're in the trace, it's incredible. I mean, if one of the front dogs would have a shit, you know, excuse my expression, honey. The dog behind, if it didn't get it, the one behind, they go, this is on the run. This is on the run.
On the run, that's
On
it.
the
Oh my
run.
God. I've heard of the weeing on the run, but I never thought them actually going and then eating it.
Yeah. Casey was one of the best years of my life, and I never thought for 1 minute that I'd have another year like that. Well, bloody Mawson was better.
And you were there longer.
Yeah.
But I should have to say, we should have to call that episode 2, because that sounds like another...
Mawson was better than Casey.
Before we do close up though, I want to hear your story of how you ended up in 2 consecutive winters. How did that happen?
There was, Peter. Phil.
We thought you got left behind, that's what we thought.
No, we weren't left behind. It was a deliberate thing. The new mob had come in, right?
Yep.
And we were out in the field, right? We were out in the field. We were actually bringing back parts of Mount King, right?
A mountain.
And there was another reason, but I seriously, I'd have to ring the doctor and find out why we had to stay there. I'll find that out for you.
Okay, that'd be interesting. Because that was not planned initially, I would guess.
Not at all. Not at all. Yeah.
Because I thought maybe it was because of your speciality.
Yeah.
They couldn't get another special, a diesel expert down for the time.
Yeah.
That's why I thought, you extend the trip. Because
I actually designed a fuel sled as well, by the way, that they use to this day and age as well.
has it got your name written on the side?
Oh, no. You
But those are the sort of innovations, and that's the thing, the innovations you make, you've taken what you've got from the country, the being a farmer, and then taking it to a frozen continent and made it work.
But Peter, life's about innovation and, using your head and whatever the case. The thing that surprised me though, in '86, I got a phone call from the government, Australian government, saying to me that, David, you've been nominated for the Antarctic medal. And I said, why is that? Oh, for your work in the Antarctic and outstanding work or whatever that other bullshit is. And I said, well, why me? And I was pretty hesitant. And they said, because, you were nominated. And I said, what about the rest of my guys? Particularly the other 5 guys that traversed with me most of the time, etc., bits and pieces that we did. What about them? I don't know. You're the one that's been nominated. Do you want to accept it or you don't? It was yes or no.
Okay.
And I went, oh shit, what do I do here? And I nearly never accepted it because of that, because I was concerned that I was highlighted and the other participants that helped me do what I did weren't.
It was a team effort, because
Of course it is.
you're in that sort of situation, you're bouncing ideas off each other and you're solving the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But great life. I don't know whether I've told you much, but
I think we've done a lot.
Yeah.
I think we have to do it at round 2. Well, in that case, let's just conclude now.
Yeah.
and we'll just do more.
Yeah, we'll just do more because that sounds like another great experience anyway. So, on behalf of everybody on the podcast, thank you very much for being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
David,
Peter.
enjoy the experience. It was fantastic. And I think your anecdotes are really quite detailed.
Yeah.
And yours is still that rawness of it as well. Where you've got some of the sort of, things that men would do, that you have to do, you have to get things done. I like that.
I'll tell you one about Mawson the next time we do it. Just remind me about the doctor.
The doctor,
Yeah.
not the Fremantle doctor.
Because on my second trip, I was also the nurse.
You wear the special dresses?
So I had to go. I had to go and into
Do some
into the hospital.
Yeah.
Into theatre, and I watched a hysterectomy. Can you believe that? There was no women in my, but we had to watch anaesthetising, etc., etc. And an appendix operation, a brain operation, and a hysterectomy.
And tonsils?
No, it wasn't tonsils. But anyway,
Hysterectomy.
it was. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was the brain one, and we all got our masks on, and headgear on, etc., etc. And I got Rusty done. Still my best mate. He's a great guy, isn't he, honey? We're in the theatre there, and the surgeon comes in, and it's almost like you see in the movies. Comes in with their hands up, sort of thing, all gloved out, etc.
Nurse?
And he looks at everybody, and he looked at my mate, and he said to me, "Oh, you're the new intern." And Rusty says, no, I'm a fucking diesel mechanic. These are so vivid, bloody memories.
That's almost like a classic comedy skit, you know, I'm a fucking
Diesel mechanic.
All right, on that note, we'll call it quits, and thank you very much indeed.